KPMG has been historically very active in the Islamic finance space and continues to be very heavily invested in it. Not just the Islamic banks and funds, but also the Islamic insurance institutions and also the multilateral developmental institutions within the Islamic finance space. We have a strong practice in the Middle East, in all of the GCC and the North African countries. We are extremely strong in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, which is another center for Islamic finance. And we like to believe we took the lead in Islamic finance in the UK and Europe, having worked with the majority of the Islamic finance institutions with a base in the UK. It is usually exciting at the moment, partly based on the research that our own people have come up with and various other thought leaders have come up with, saying that just the oil industry in the Middle East is going to generate up between $5 and $10 trillion over the next 10 years for those economies. And even if they were to invest most of those revenues within their own boundaries, there still is going to be a huge amount of money available for them to push across their borders into our countries. And it becomes particularly relevant when you see what's happening to the conventional banking world, and the credit crunch and issues such as those. So lots of good businesses need money, and here is a big source of capital. You just got to give them the tools to get to that money. I commend all the tax changes that have been made thus far. Without doubt, it has made the Islamic banking industry possible in this country, and some of the rudimentary basic structures are now equivalent of conventional instruments, or the economic effect is the same. The moment you get into structured financing, which is sort of corporate finance or sukuk and areas such as those, the structures get more complicated. As they get more complicated, the incidence of tax or the impact of tax is exponentially higher. And I am informed reliably by many of my tax practitioners and professionals that there continue to be a few snags within the regulations as they exist, which disadvantage or remove the kind of flexibility that you have within the conventional finance world if you were to try and do the same in an Islamic finance environment. So I think the government has taken the most difficult steps and gone probably 80% of the way. They still have to push their way through the remaining 20%. But clearly the initiative taken by the government of exploring, understanding, and hopefully at some point issuing a sterling sukuk is a great one, particularly because I understand from people in the Treasury and the Debt Management Office that they want to do that in a way which gets all the legal changes, the tax changes already put in place, so that it's not the government who, because as a sovereign it could do a lot of things which corporates can't do, but they want to make all those changes within laws and regulations and taxes so that the moment they do something, ABC Corporation down Fleet Street can also issue a sukuk. And that, I think, is the right way of doing it. I believe personally that increasingly more and more of that money coming out of the Middle East will want to find Sharia compliant homes, and thus the development of the Sharia compliant or Islamic finance industry in the UK is critical, and we got to have the rules, regulations, the taxes, and the environment made as easy as possible and as clear as possible so that those kind of investments are possible.